I would have scheduled this for another time. This would be worth hearing. We don't have anyone from planning board still. And Dick Karoff is going to probably call in or at least listen in by phone. Dick had knee surgery, and for some reason he's letting that hold him from being here. I'm just kidding. He did have the knee surgery. He's making good recovery, so he won't. He'll join us audioly. That's a word.
Okay, so we have a guest. If they can hear me, if they could put their first and last name on, that'd be great. So we know if they can be promoted to panelist or if they should stay as an attendee.
I can hear you.
Hey, Jeff.
Hey,
Hi,
Jeff.
Hi, Jeff. Community Cohasset Conservation Trust.
We have some attendees. We have Ellen Marr from the school.
Okay.
We have Eric, who I believe should be promoted.
Eric?
No?
Eric Eisenhower. He's a member.
Yes, promote.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then we have Ted Carroll from the rec department also in the waiting room.
Okay.
So when you're ready to discuss, we can promote them in. And
okay. Why don't we start off by reading the notice?
Eric, you're muted, Eric, in case you.
I'm
Sorry.
happy to be muted.
Well, I just didn't know if you knew it. That's all. Doesn't matter.
Carrie wishes you were that easy to shut up, huh? Okay, notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 44B, Subchapter 5, known as the Massachusetts Community Preservation Act. The Community Preservation Committee will hold a public informational hearing December 7th, tonight at 7 p.m. And it's virtual, so anyone who's hearing this obviously knows how to get to it. We're basically going to discuss needs, possibilities, and resources regarding community preservation. We'll accept, but I don't think anyone's going to have a full application. And I let people know they don't have to. We're just kind of shaking the tree to see what's out there. So we may hear, I know we're going to hear from, Jeff. We're going to hear from the school department. We're going to hear from recreation. Little League may join us, and housing. But anyway, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's 7 after 7. The first thing I had on the agenda, and where we're short, you know, about 2, 4, 6 of us. We're short, well, 2 people. First thing I was going to have was an election of officers, but I'd rather have as close to the full board as I can, unless anyone has any problem with that. I'd like to wait until we meet again, which will probably be in January. Eric?
That's fine.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
No, I'm sorry. I was moving my light.
Oh, okay. Okay. You know, I thought you were making a comment. All right. Who's the first one in the waiting room? I can't hear anything.
that's because I was on mute. I apologize.
Oh.
Ellen Marr and Susan Owen, I'm promoting to panelists so they can discuss the schools.
Hello, Ellen.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. Sue, are you there? No.
Not visually.
I'm here. Just trying to get on.
All right. Susan Owen is our Director of Finance and Operations for Cohasset Public Schools, and I'm on school committee. And Russ, did you circulate the letter I sent out?
I did.
Okay. So
Everybody got that, I assume?
Yep.
Okay.
So we just wanted to, as this was an informational meeting, discuss with you the fact that it's coming time for us to replace the carpet on the artificial turf field up at Alumni Field at 143 Pond Street, as well as a replacement of the track, which had not been replaced. back in 2009. I gave you a bunch of the history of how it all started. I actually found my folder. I have the original CPC application from 2008 and some of the other supporting documents. This originally was a public-private partnership. We raised $550,000 privately, and the town bonded the other $500,000. So the turf carpet is coming to end of life. The 8-year warranty expired in 2017. The school has done a remarkable job keeping it in shape. However, it is coming to end of life, and we are having the athletic director, Steve Rotunde, is going to have some testing done of it to really ascertain the current condition. We haven't had it tested for a couple of years. The track is in a complete state of disrepair. We, through capital budgets, we tried to fix it in 2018, cover some of the bubbling and crackling in the surface and the asphalt, but it has significant issues. The fix gave us a couple of years, but the track in its current format would not be safe to conduct interscholastic athletics. And so it has flooding issues on the interior perimeter, and which, you know, when something floods, it causes the substructure to break down in addition to being a hazard. So we're beginning the process of looking at, you know, recarpeting the turf field and replacing the track. And we understand that the carpet itself is not something that CPC can fund. However, you know, in the letter, there have been other districts that have had the benefit of some CPC funding for other parts of the project. So we just kind of wanted to get it out there so that everyone knew it's incoming. We've talked with Chris Senior about it. We've talked with John Pyatt about it. We had a meeting last week. Michelle was there, and that's kind of it. We just wanted to introduce the project. So we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Anyone have any questions? Susan?
Not right now, thank you.
Okay, Carrie?
Nope.
No, Eric?
Yeah, Ellen, I'm looking at the memo here, and maybe I'm misreading it. There's on page, I don't know what it is, it's toward the end, we're talking about Wellesley.
Yes.
And Wellesley in 08 ponied up 1.5 million, in your words, of the total of 4 million installation costs.
Mm-hmm.
Then the next sentence, it says, maintenance work is not eligible for such funding. Are you referring to Cohasset, or are you referring to Wellesley's situation when you say maintenance work is not available?
That was from the Wellesley, they actually call it the Swellesley Press. It was their article. And because the Sprague synthetic fields were installed at their elementary schools, so they were new installations. And part of the article read that CPC funding can't be used for maintenance. So I just put that in there for that purpose.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Tom, anything?
Yes, I have a question. Do you have a sort of funding formula in mind of how much of this will be raised from private sources? How much will be from CPC? What you're expecting?
No, not at the moment. We have not entertained undergoing a private funding campaign like we did in 2008 at this point in time, because the replacement of the carpet is a much less rigorous project than it was before. Where, I mean, I don't know if you ever saw any of the pictures, but all of Alumni Field was excavated and the entire substructure was laid with drainage and everything. And this is just really, you know, tearing off the carpet and replacing it. So no,
if you look at the two projects combined, the turf, which, as you acknowledged, is not within the CPC's thing, but the infrastructure under it, we could talk about. And then you have the track.
Yeah.
So out of that, what are you thinking the CPC should do it all?
No, I don't, well, in a perfect world, I would say yes, but no. But I know we're not in a perfect world. Honestly, Mr. Reardon, we're not there yet. We just had our first real conversation about this last week. So when I saw Russ's post on Facebook saying this was an informational meeting, I said, well, now's as good a time as any. We do have a lot of work to do to come up with a funding formula and how we see everything laying out. But we didn't want to hit you in the early spring as a surprise.
Perfectly fair. Thank you.
Okay.
And appreciated as well. Susie?
No questions or comments, but
Okay.
thank you for introducing it.
Russ, I have another
And you know, and if they know you can't do, I don't know why you can't do artificial turf. But evidently whoever wrote the bill has a relative in the real turf business and they didn't want the competition. Eric, were you getting ready to say something?
I have another question. I'm focusing on your comments in Situate last year, 2019, where they the voters approved a CPC funding of 8.3 million for the Fields project. 4 million came from CPC's undesignated funding balance, and there's a lot of numbers there and financing possibilities. Is that a pro forma model we could use in Cohasset? Or is Situate's funding and availability of funds CPC wise very different from ours?
I don't know the answer to that question. I'm happy to look into it for you. That in italics was an article that was in Wicked Local Situate. So,
I would think one difference is going to be the amount of money that they raise off of Situate's tax base.
Yeah, they're much larger.
To Cohasset, as well as, I don't know whether they're 1.5%, they could be 3%. You know, their state match could add considerable amount because it's a huge town. That I know that would be a difference. I wish we had 5 million to throw around.
Russ, what's of interest to me isn't necessarily the numbers themselves, but it's the model that they have there, where you have a large sum of money voted through for CPC funding. There's a treasury sum of money. There are various bits and pieces that they put together, which might be an interesting funding model, although smaller, for us to look into in the future.
Yeah, provided they stay within the guidelines of the Community Preservation Act. Because, and Stuart will be the first one to admit it, there are projects all over the place that really don't conform to the CPA. You know, Norwell a few years ago tried to put in wide sidewalks and call them paths and say it was recreation, and they got sued and they lost. You know, I would look into how they did it, but I'd look at it real close because it doesn't necessarily mean that it is within the guidelines.
right.
Okay.
I know the
Worth checking
athletic,
out.
yeah, I know the athletic director over in Situate. I can
Okay.
get a call to start the conversation and because he oversaw the project.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else? No, I think it's something we will end up getting involved in, and we should to whatever extent that we can, because I mean, the bulk of our money does come from the taxpayers. And I like to do town projects. I don't know how everyone else feels, because the more town projects, the less it gets thrown on the taxes that never go off, where our stuff will disappear after a certain amount of time. Like even when we were going to bond the town hall project, we knew that in 20 years, the thing would be paid off, we'd be done. Well, if there are no other questions, Ellen, Susan, thank you very much. You know, as you get information together, don't hesitate to call any of us.
Okay.
You know, that's what we're here for.
Okay.
And when would you be looking to do the work?
Next summer.
Next summer, okay.
Yeah, it's from groundbreaking in 2008. They broke ground the week school got out, and we opened the field the second week in September.
Okay.
So the work this year is much less complex because you don't have to do the whole substructure, and we are able to do both projects at the same time. because what the contractors do is they bridge over the track if they need to, to access the field
Yeah.
with heavy equipment, so that there's no damage or anything to the track.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
All right. So I have my marching orders, and we will get back in touch.
Yeah.
Do you want to be?
And, if you have questions, don't hesitate to call.
Do you prefer to be updated along the way, or only updated once everything?
Yeah, might as well. I think it would make for a smoother project altogether. Because we'll be up to date on stuff, and if it's starting to stray into an area that we might not be able to do, we'll get it then, rather than 4 weeks down the road dropping a bomb. So yeah, I think the more the merrier.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Have a
Thanks,
good
everybody.
evening.
Thank you for letting us bring this to your attention. Thanks, Ellen.
Sure.
I'm sorry?
So Russ, you have a couple of items in the Q&A, and Peter Pescatore just wants to let you know that he is here and present. So when you're ready, we will promote him. And we also
Okay.
have Debbie Shad as an
Okay.
attendee. But I believe Ted Carroll would be next.
Or I was thinking, is Jeff, are you and Debbie a team on this?
Yes, we are.
Oh, I'd go in order of whoever came in. I know Jeff's been sitting here for a while. So
Right.
if Jeff and Debbie want to go next, that would work.
Sure, hang on. Let
That
me
would be
promote
great.
him.
Okay, Jeff. Hey, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie, you're on mute.
Yep. All right.
So Conservation Trust right now is looking at 3 properties that we're interested in acquiring in different parts of the town. They're all in the beginning phases. We haven't purchased them. We don't have a purchase and sale agreement with any of them yet, but they look very promising. One is about 5 acres, one is about 7 acres, and the other one is undecided right now. And we figured that will be coming before the CPC sometime next year so that we can get some funding for acquiring the property, creating access on a couple of the properties, and creating trails for passive recreation.
Do they adjoin any of the other existing properties that you have?
One of them adjoins an existing property that we have, plus some town-owned property.
Okay.
One of them is close to town-owned property and then could connect with one of our existing properties.
Okay.
And the other one, the third one, is a very desirable piece of property that doesn't touch anything yet.
Okay.
But all 3 of them would have public access.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. Any rough idea of what you're looking at dollar-wise? I mean, maybe too early, and that's fine.
It's kind of, yeah, it's too early for all of them, I think.
Yeah.
We have discussions with the owners. We're trying to see about getting some private funding from some donors, some significant private funding, and we haven't heard from them yet. So everything is too early. Everything is in the beginning stages right now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Jeff, when you say they have public access, to what extent? I mean, we've seen public access being sort of, you could walk across a tightrope to get onto the property, or you could have a drive up. And so what kind of public access is envisioned?
All of them have access to the street.
To the street.
Yeah,
So where you could park on the street and then go for a walk or a hike, right?
correct.
And there's parking on the street?
There is parking, I think, on adjacent, all of the streets are adjacent streets for at least one of them. And one of the properties that we're looking at, we're envisioning creating a parking lot for 3 or 4 cars.
Okay.
Anyone, Carrie?
Can you tell us where they are? Is that like,
I would,
I'd
I,
rather not.
I
I
would,
sense his lips are sealed.
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if Jeff wants to, that's fine. I would advise him against it.
are
Uh,
these purchases typically like big parcels, or are they small homes that people just want to give to the land trust and then it just becomes like a little?
No, one of them is a buildable lot that is on the market.
Right, so
Um,
is the mission to just like prevent development, or is it? I'm just curious. I'm not like, I'm just curious.
No, our
my concern on it, Carrie, is that it could drive the price up considerably to the trust. If, you know, you may find someone it hits a certain number and they think, geez, I'll go over that and buy it and build on it.
Yeah, no, I
So,
get that.
yeah, for that aspect, but, you know, otherwise, you know, discuss what you wish, Jeff.
Yeah, let them negotiate privately and then,
yeah, I'd rather not either just describe the location or the amount that we're
Yeah.
talking about.
Okay. So,
I assume, however, when you come in with a proposal, we will know the property and all of the surrounds and the costs and whatnot.
You will know everything. You'll have a
Right.
plan,
Right.
a map, how much money it's costing.
Yep.
Just like we've done for a couple of the other projects that we did.
Exactly.
yeah, absent that, we won't be seeing them.
but Jeff, I think to answer Carrie's question, maybe it might be helpful to explain a little about what the purpose of the land trust is. I mean, because it's jointly what you were asking, Carrie, my sense is, but you should explain. Some of it is to just protect the land from development and some is for public access for recreational use or whatever, but.
Yeah, and then how that matches the, you know, agenda for the CPC, and does it match it? You know?
But it's, you know, open space recreation.
Open space
Open
recreation is one of our categories. That
Right.
falls exactly under that.
Wildlife habitat.
I mean, our basic mission is to protect and preserve the natural beauty of Cohasset, and we do have properties in surrounding towns too, including Bassett Beech, which is actually in Situate. So that's the basic mission. We have no mission to plain old prevent development on a parcel that doesn't serve that part of our mission. So, you know, if a property has to have, you know, natural beauty, wildlife value, recreational value, some value other than just being a, you know, a piece of property that people don't want to see a house built on.
Right.
And
We-
in the case of several of the things we're looking at right now, you know, we're excited about them because they create connections to properties that we already own or that the town owns. So it's really going to create a better corridor for recreation, wildlife habitat, and it makes certain parcels that we already own a lot more accessible.
Well, we've had a long history, partnership, maybe is a better way to describe it, between the trust and the CPC. In fact, I think, were both of you guys on CPC at the time, at one point? I know Jeff was.
I was on CPC.
I was not.
No, okay.
I was on the recreation, open space and recreation committee.
Okay, all right,
I was also on the Conservation Commission for a while.
yeah. And you were fair to deal with on that, because I was in front of you guys a couple times. But Susie, do you have any questions for Jeff or Debbie? All right,
No, it sounds very interesting, but hard to say when we don't know where it is, what it's going to cost.
Well,
But again, I'm glad that it's being brought up now rather than later, so we have an idea of what might be coming down the pipe.
I mean, I think our goal was just to let you know that we do have some things in the works.
Yeah.
that fit,
Right.
you know, a couple of your categories, and just so you know that. And as soon as we can share more information, we will.
Yeah. And all three of these properties we're very excited about because they're not isolated, you know, 1 or 2 acre pieces of property. They abut our own property plus town property. So that just creates a
Yeah.
larger parcel for all the things that we're trying to protect.
That's perfect.
Hey, Debbie, do these properties have any wetland issues?
Let's see, in one case, yes, not something that would prevent public access. Actually, in many ways, it's a positive because there's a vernal pool that would be protected. It is a buildable lot, and there is a vernal pool on it, so that would be protected by lack of development on the parcel. You know, in certain cases, we might be seeking funding to create, for example, a boardwalk to cross certain areas like we have in our Ingram Woods property, just to, not because you need it through the entire parcel, but to go over wetlands in a few places. And the other property, one of the other properties is a bit of a similar situation. We might need to do some work in order to bridge wetlands and create a trail via a boardwalk. But that's been done in other places, and it's certainly a doable thing.
And wetlands for us are an asset, not a problem.
Yeah, I think the outlook on walkways over virgin wetlands is becoming more and more clouded and maybe less reliable as something you can do in the future, Debbie.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of an intensity to protect the wetlands more, not because you're going to harm them in any obvious way. But we run into a lot of requests for walkways and piers over marsh grass and things like that that are becoming very contentious in Cohasset.
Right. I mean, obviously, our goal would be to avoid doing that as much as possible. And these, you know, these are buildable. They are buildable lots. So
Better to have a walkway than a house.
Better to have a walkway than a house. Yeah, a McMansion, that's for sure.
Exactly.
I think we'll tread a lot more lightly than a developer would.
Yeah, we've got enough of
Hopefully.
those already going up.
Probably. Susan,
No,
all set? Carrie,
it sounds great.
Exciting.
all set?
Okay.
Susie Wadsworth.
I'm all set too.
Okay, Eric, got anything else?
Well, that's
You're all set? Tom?
sounds like great projects.
Yeah, I think, you know, I'm glad you guys came in just to let us know there is stuff. And we get a chance to let you know we're interested in doing whatever we can. We go back a long, long way, and you guys have always been good to deal with. So I don't see much changing. I mean, obviously we need to see numbers and all that, but
Yep.
you know, if you find something, I think we'll probably get involved on some level.
Eventually, we'll come with a much more complete proposal.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's, you know, I mean, the only reason I said that, not to go into the detail is just so it doesn't potentially ruin any deal. I'm not trying to conceal anything from anybody or anything. It's just that, you know, you never know. Somebody might be within striking distance of your number and decide to go for it. So I'd rather not put my foot in that one. Okay.
Well, we're glad you're out there doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All
I'm
right.
leaving the meeting.
I'll leave.
Okay. Say hi to Ellie.
Bye, everybody. Thank you for your
Bye.
time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Deb.
Bye.
Bye, Jeff. Bye, Debbie.
Okay, where did Michelle go?
I'm here.
There she is. Ted is in there, you said, or Peter?
Ted, so I'll promote him.
Okay. Hello, Ted.
Hello,
Hello.
you hear me okay?
Yep.
Sometimes I sound like Daffy Duck with my work Zoom. So Michelle, I don't know if I sent you that, can you put that email up or? So we are coming to you, well, the Recreation Commission is coming back to you for,
Excuse me, Ted, could you introduce yourself, please? I know your first name is Ted. What is your last name?
Ted Carroll, Cohasset Recreation.
Fine, thank you.
So we are in the middle of a few projects we were working on for, actually one project we've worked on for almost 6 years. But we are working. So some of these projects we haven't actually met with the senior management team yet or capital but they asked me to just go over some of these projects with you guys too first. So, so Michelle, whenever you're ready, I'll do it alphabetically, be easier. So. Two of the projects we're doing, actually, you've already given us funding for, Milliken Field and Beech and Sawyer Street here. There's one, the first project we're hoping, so this order that I'm doing is actually opposite order how we want to get it done, but the first project is Beechwood Basketball Court, which was a 2007 capital budget, maybe CPC project back in the day with Glenn Pratt in the previous, before you, Russ. So we are hoping to resurface that court next fall. And I did have some pictures and some numbers for you guys.
I'm working on pulling it up.
Okay.
For some reason, it's not allowing me to download it.
Well, like I said, the first project was basketball, the Beechwood Basketball Court, which was renovated in 2000. I want to say 2007. I have a picture from 2000 when it was all done, looking great. What did happen was that there were two trees that were planted too close to the court, and it caused cracking. And the trees were removed, I think, in 2018. They would have been the size of this. I guess there's a tree on the common that's about 6 feet wide, and that's the type of tree they planted right next to the court. So it started giving way on the basketball court. So the trees were removed, but we have 3 serious cracks there. It is the most popular place in town right now. Kids are playing there nonstop. It's the only basketball court around, actually, in most towns that is being used. So the rec department actually replaced all the lights there, so they're more energy efficient. And we actually have one light facing the outfield for when we do the ice hockey rink there. So what the project we're hoping to do is to resurface the court. Let's see if we get it here. Oh.
Okay.
Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
So as you see, that is probably a year old, that photo. And you can sort of see the two, there is a tree there in a little triangle when you first pulled in. You can see where it was cut right in the corner there. And that caused damage going in. And there was another tree just south of that car there. You can sort of see it there. And then we also have some new cracking, which you actually can see better right behind the left backboard. You can see the cracking actually right there. So the quotes that we've had so far is $36,000 from IREA to resurface. Actually, Michelle, if you want to go to page 2, I think that's got the numbers on it. $36,000 to resurface the court, $6,000 to repaint it, new backboards, and we are going to replace. Someone actually had a great idea about putting opening the court up a little bit, because you can't. We actually have a lot of basketball that's played there, but there's no place for anyone to sit, anybody to sit there to have team benches. So there was a suggestion made to actually open up the fencing towards the back of the baseball field there. And actually that price is only about $2,000, which we're going to need to do anyways to have any resurfacing done in there. And then we've also had some issues with the electrical box there. It keeps on getting broken into. So there was a quote done recently to get the more secure light box, so we don't have to replace it. Sometimes it gets damaged to shut the lights off. Sometimes it gets damaged to shut the lights on. So it's two different factions almost. So the project cost is there, and then a 25% contingency. So that's obviously, if we don't have any issues there, project cost should be more close to 60. We would, use the basketball court for our summer basketball league. So we actually have some nice green benches that are at this location. We'd send there. And then just some padding that we probably cover through the next basketball season for next year. So that's Beechwood. That's the request for, it says CPC, but that's only for you guys. I don't know. Like I said, we haven't met with Capital or Christine or Dawn about any other funding. So I guess if there are any questions about Beechwood, I don't know if you want me to take it right there.
I have a question.
Okay.
Have you all considered or looked into the possibility of doing some kind of a solar panel there for your electrical box?
We have not. I can ask, I don't know, Michelle, do you have that? Is that something we can talk to the solar people or?
We can definitely talk to them. I don't know that it would be something that they'd want to do, that maybe a tag along onto an existing project. So yes, the answer is yes, we can vet it.
I mean, it's
So,
just worth exploring ways to try to make it more sustainable.
sure,
Yeah.
good question.
I mean, the good thing is actually we have noticed a great decrease in our electrical costs since we did LEDs. When
Yeah, that too.
when we did the LEDs here, the bill dropped almost 90%. It's incredible. It's
Yeah,
the
that's
difference in
huge.
cost. So even Beechwood is lit. We don't have a lit for the winter now because basketball is considered a high risk sport. So we're
Right.
trying not to encourage too much action there. But we saw the monthly bill drop 75% there with the LEDs. So there's a great savings for us.
Yeah, both of those things would be wonderful.
So that's Beechwood.
They do have a,
Whoa. Anybody else have any questions?
I do. Ted, do you have your own, is there a capital budget that the town has to cover these items when they're new or when we first invest in them? Because these seem to be maintenance items or upkeep items to me rather than anything else. But is there a town capital budget for this? I'm not too familiar with how the town runs its accounts.
Good question. I mean, we haven't, like I said, we haven't met with, I think we're meeting tomorrow with the management team, Dawn and Chris, I think Michelle and Brian. And Capital we actually set this request to Capital back on October 1st. So it's still, like I said, this is still a work in progress. But it is a complete renovation of the court. So it's sort of, so I'm not too sure where they would see that in that action. So.
Is there, has anyone ever written down who's responsible for what when it comes to town recreational and athletic expenditures? I'm waiting for someone to explain to me who does what and how the money gets allocated and what we're responsible for and what the town's responsible for, and how that all works.
I like to see that too.
Okay, all right. I think you've answered my question.
Yeah. I mean, we do, like I said, we look at, there's all the school properties are under their jurisdiction. So for the Recreation Commission makes recommendations to the selectmen. It's one of the two goals that they have, or charter things they have, is to make recommendations. And Beechwood, this location here, Sawyer Street and Milliken Field are really our only town opposite, different from the school.
So CPC is the lender of last resort? Is that how it works, or the financer of last resort, or?
I'll let Russ answer that question. Like I said, we haven't met with Dawn and Chris or Capital at all. So we just wanted to come to your meeting tonight.
Tom, do you have a question?
I did not have a question, but I don't think we're the lender of last resort in maintenance issues.
Yeah. Like I said, I probably shouldn't have put CPC request there. It was based on, this is for you guys, so it should have been total request because, we did assume a partnership with Capital, but I don't know if there's enough capital money out there to help split the cost, so.
Okay. Anyone else, Susan?
That's fine.
No, nothing further.
Okay, Carrie?
I'm good.
Susie Wadsworth?
I like the idea, and I think it deserves more attention.
Okay. You do need to sharpen your pencil a little bit, because when you add up the 36, the 6, both for the repainting and backboards, removing the fence and the electrical box, come out about 56.8.
I might have changed the number there when I wasn't looking, so, okay.
Yeah, so you're looking for 100% though.
For this one, yes. We do have funding for the other two projects.
Okay,
It just
all
is,
right.
this is sort of a court that's sort of open to the public, so we don't, it's tough to, like, you'll see in some of the two other projects, there were funding sources, like private funding sources.
Yeah, I mean, it does get a lot of use.
Yeah.
I went by there today and it was in use.
Yeah.
Initially, when it was built with CPC money, that was a, how would we say it nicely, misappropriation under the act. At that time, you could not do improvements to a recreation property that had not been secured or purchased with CPC money.
CPC funding, right? I remember that.
Right. And it's, well, you remember too, when the Sailing Club came in front of us at first, we thought we could do it. And we couldn't, because it hadn't been bought by the town. They've since changed that. So you can work on stuff whether or not it was CPC money. But it will, like I say, it does get a lot of use.
Russ, to
Yes.
Eric's point, how is this not a maintenance project? You're resurfacing the court, you're repainting the court,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
new backboards, you could, but that looks like a maintenance project to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that is, I would agree with you. The electrical box is not really maintenance, but
Right.
that's an upgrade. That's something I think we need to.
I support the concept, but I'm not sure it fits within the
Within
terms.
the guidelines, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at that chart that, does my project qualify? And under rehabilitation and restoration, it says make capital improvements or extraordinary repairs to make assets functional for intended use, including improvements to comply with federal, state, or local building or access codes or federal standards for rehabilitation of historic properties. I guess there would be an argument that could be made that these are extraordinary repairs. Stuart Saganor, when he first came in, I asked him what's the difference between preservation and maintenance, and he said verbs. So a lot, there's a lot of gray area in there though, Tom. I agree with you.
Okay.
And I can bring this up to the meeting. I'll bring this up at the meeting tomorrow. This issue.
What time's your meeting?
I think 5 or 5:30. I think 5:30, so.
Oh, okay. In person or on Zoom?
It is virtual.
I'm sorry? Oh, it's virtual?
It is virtual, yep.
And if you want, I'll be glad to chime in, or if anyone else wants to, if you can get us a link.
Yeah, I think Michelle's setting it up, so.
Okay.
I can send you the link.
Okay, well, that's provided, the people running the meeting want us there. I'm not gonna barge in if they don't need us there. But Tom raises a good point. A lot of, and Eric, backboards, yeah, those will go after some time, but resurfacing the entire court, when what caused it, you can make the argument that what caused the resurfacing and as a result the repainting is not use of the facility for what it was intended, but something that landscaping caused. Now, at that point, where they say here that it repairs to make the asset functional for intended use, it leaves it open. But that would be something we'd have to discuss in further detail when we have better numbers.
I'm in favor of finding the language and the scope of the project to fit the definition, because I think if there's anything that supports the town in terms of open space and recreation, certainly a basketball court that is used nonstop by the youth in town fits that definition, so.
Oh, yeah, well, there's no question that but we still have to fall within the guidelines.
Yeah, but maybe that counts back to Ted to figure it out.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, so maybe, yeah. No, I agree.
I suppose if you could claim that the court is unusable in its current condition, then the resurfacing is what is required to make it functional.
Mhm.
And I do think, once we start going again, this has obviously been a horrible year for us. We've probably lost over, we've definitely, like some of the funding that we could have had for Milliken or this other project, losing this last year's basketball program probably cost us $10,000. Losing the race last week cost us $10,000 in proceeds.
Yeah, because you're not taking in the funds from those, exactly.
And even the field fund that we have for spring programs was $10,000 we lost. So we've lost $30,000 alone from those 3 programs that we could have put towards these projects. And going forward, the repainting of the court's probably going to need it looks like it as you saw from the picture. It's usually that because of the usage too, that court will have to be resurfaced every 10, 15 years, almost like tennis courts. But we'll be able to fund that based on all the basketball programs we run. So.
Hopefully, anyway.
Oh, we will. Yeah, no, we will. We use a lot of our recreation money to not come back to you guys for asking for funds. So.
The benches that are purchased and used at Sawyer Street, which I imagine are the ones that we paid for then, that are coming over to this location, what's going to happen at Sawyer Street?
Well, we're going to buy new ones, but it wasn't something that you guys purchased. We actually used basketball money to purchase the green team benches here, and we'll send those to Beechwood because they actually match that area better. And then we'll buy new blue ones here out of basketball money.
So the ones on Sawyer Street were not from the CPC grant from a few years ago?
No. No, there were team benches we purchased from basketball money.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, next part.
Milliken Field, the long running journey. I think this project started in 2013. It was presented to us. So we did back in 2016, we did ask for money for this project based on quotes we had. You'll see in a later slide that the original request was for 188. But, Russ, I think you remember Mike Milanowski reminded us that what 33,000 of that was for high school baseball field.
Yep.
So that was all spent. Since that point, we have received capital budget money from 25. We have set aside 25 of our money based on Thanksgiving and basketball. So like I said, we lost 20,000 this year, not having either one of those. Cohasset Youth Soccer has committed $30,000 to the project. So the funding to date was 235,103. There has been, and I know some of you might know this, there's been, I think, 6 proposals. We've gone from a building proposal that the bids came out back at $600,000 for a shed, to a modular unit, back to a build unit, which was over $500,000 again. Now we're back to, I think this is version modular number 3. So as you see, so there has been some money spent on engineering. So our balance right now is 213. So what we have right now in front of us is a quote, and it's the best quote we've received, a modular unit that Jason Federico took care of 229. A quote from IREA for 46 to do all the excavating and getting the sewer line right there. The ancillary cost, we don't have a number on yet, but I based on half the cost of what we expect, the IREA. And then there's a little disagreement. One person says 10%, the other one says 25. So, that's what we have. If we did have to do a 25% contingency, we are still reaching out to Cohasset High School, Cohasset Youth Lacrosse, and then we're gonna have some spring field money next year, possibly $10,000. So, between those three, if we had to go at 25% contingency, we might cover it. But, and like I said, I shouldn't have put that CPC request because this is still a project that we need to talk to Chris and Don and Capital about. But right now, that project's short about 114. It's like I said, it's been a battle for, we're going on 7 years now of trying to get that project done. When it's done, there'll be no need for porta potties. The bathrooms be handicap accessible right next to the gate. New concession area. So, knock on wood, if we get the funding, we hope, we've always planned on this to be a summer project because it'll be after, when nobody's on the field and the field is dry. So, like I said, this is just to show you guys where we stand as of right now, because I know people have been asking, where we are with this project. So that is where we stand right now.
The modular unit at 229, what is the difference between that and what was originally proposed? More in the case of what aren't we going to be having in the modular that we would have had in the other one? Is it less bathrooms?
No, it's just more of a, Michelle might be able to help you out with this question. I know we've had multiple versions. We had one from, I'm drawing a blank on his name yet. He's on a different board. He's on planning board.
Clark Brewer.
Yeah, Clark Brewer had a plan. It just wasn't, I don't know what happened to it. It wasn't going to work. We had third, I think when we saw that the original bids of over $600,000 on the first wood structure built out completely. We went to that one modular, we looked at that. And then we saw Clark's plan and then went back to a build out plan and then went to this plan. And this is based on another facility that Jason Federico found, another company that did a similar project.
The only challenge with this one, and I know no one wants to hear this, but we are going to have to go out to bid again on it. So we hope this company will come back and bid the same price that they bid last time. Because as time lapses every time for funding purposes, we lose our procurement and we have to re-procure.
So this 114,511 that you're requesting from CPC is in a sense replacing the 155 that was requested 4 years ago.
No, it's adding.
It is adding.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
I wish it was the other way around, but no, it is. We had estimated around.
No, it's like $270,000.
Yeah.
All told from CPC.
Yeah.
For a project that's going to cost $298, if I'm reading it right.
Something doesn't make sense to me.
Why is it so expensive?
So due to prevailing wage, anytime you build a building, the cost is more expensive than if you were to hire someone, privately.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges.
So you're saying the total project cost is $298, and
That's
yet
without contingency.
yeah, without the contingency. Yeah. Okay, so with the contingency, it's $327,800.
Yeah.
But so basically, you've already got 155 that was, from the 2016, plus now another almost 115. So it's essentially 270,000.
Yes. But like I said before, we still haven't sat down with Brian, Chris, and Don and Capital to see if there's any resources there too. So.
Yeah, to me, we're funding all but what, 25 grand roughly?
Yeah, that doesn't feel like a very good.
Well, it makes you wonder what happened with the capital budget, the recreation. I understand with the lack of some of the programs that would generate money, how we ended up in the soccer group at 30, how we ended up having that smaller gap to bridge, which really brings us into the 85, 90% financing range. And to me, this needs a lot of work.
Hey, Ted, who owns Milliken Field? Is it part of
The town.
the town? Okay.
Yeah.
And then soccer is like a private entity and they raise money and they have their own little fund and then.
Thank you.
Yes. So we do charge them. I mean, that's their commitment because that building usually is typically, youth soccer put that building together, put that up originally. So that's why they're offering the biggest commitment right now.
Who will concessions benefit?
Well, that's stuff we worked on too. I mean, if we do a lease with Cressa Youth Soccer, we do want the building open, obviously. The biggest user outside of Cressa Youth Soccer is Cressa High School. So that's why we're hoping that they match our 25. I need to write a letter to them asking them to match our donation. And lacrosse, we hope in lacrosse makes a donation. And then we'll have some money next spring from our field fees too. So.
But you're hoping for money from the school department?
From the athletic fund.
Yeah. Okay.
They're the biggest user. They are pretty much the biggest user of this field. Between high school baseball, high school tennis, the soccer teams use it, lacrosse teams use it. So that's our goal is to, I mean, 25, I think is a noble request from them.
Yeah, they should all be chipping in towards this.
Because they'll be saving money in the long run, because I charge them for the porta potties every year. So in the long run, the very long run, they'll be saving money and have a cleaner facility for people to come to watch high school games.
No, the reason I was asking about the school contribution is I didn't get the impression they had anything in their previous presentation tonight to put towards the turf and track replacement.
Well, we're looking at their high school revolving fund and asking them, to make a donation there. Because I think, as you remember, Russ, when we did the tennis court repair, you gave us 7. We did a $21,000 tennis court repair. And because they're the biggest user of the tennis courts, they gave 7, we gave 7, and you gave 7. And it got the court done, the latest crack repair. So we're going to ask them doesn't hurt to ask.
Oh, no, it's just that, on one project, it doesn't seem they can come up with anything. Now all of a sudden they are. But at least that's how it looks to me. I don't know if anyone else sees it that way. Well, Susan, any other questions?
No, I just hope that you'll have some more volunteers to kick in some more money.
Yeah.
I mean, the youth soccer has offered to put out a mortgage on it, and I don't recommend it.
How could they mortgage it?
Well, take a mortgage out that they pay off out of their soccer leagues fees. So.
Right, but mortgages are secured.
Yeah, I told them
it's usually secured by an asset that the person who's taking the mortgage actually owns. Yeah. Having been in the mortgage industry for 25 plus years.
Yeah. And they don't own this.
No. That's
even them taking a loan out, I don't advise them of that. So.
Okay, Carrie, any other questions?
I mean, I would just say that it seems to be a facility that's used by a lot of different entities, and I think the responsibility for paying for it needs to be shared, not just from CPC, but all the different entities. And I think you should push to soccer and to lacrosse and to, tennis or whoever else uses it, and tell them they have a responsibility. And if they don't have the funds available, that they should do their own private fundraising to figure it out from their communities. I think people will step up to support programs they believe in. And I think anyone who's ever used that as a young parent, that place was terrible. It needs bathrooms. Like if somebody had come to us when our kids were playing soccer and asked for money, we would have given to it. So I think you just have to get people engaged to do it. I'm all for supporting the program, but I think it just needs to be a shared responsibility like everything else we've done.
All right, thank you. Susie?
It's always seemed to me to be a bit of an extravagance. But we'll see. I mean, 300 plus seems like a fair amount of money, even taking into consideration the prevailing wage. Also, I don't know what's going to happen economically going forward. I think there are a lot of questions that need to be answered regarding the pandemic. I don't know where the town's going to be. I just have some concerns, and my feeling is to be as conservative as possible until the dust settles. That's all.
Okay. Tom?
I basically agree with Carrie that I think the funding formula here is flawed and that it needs greater participation on the people who benefit directly from it. And then we should participate, but not anywhere near, I think, at the level we're being asked to.
Yeah. Okay. Eric? Hello, Eric. Eric either has been muted or has nothing to say. So what is the other project? You had 3 total, right?
Last one is Sawyer Street, which I know people have been asking about because there's a there's a blank surface out here. So this was a CP. Well, I think Chris put in the $48,000 for Sawyer Street exterior with you guys. I don't think it came from us. It was sort of for when we moved in here to help make any repairs. So 2016, CPC put gave us $48,000. We've put in $30,000 in that account. Cohasset Youth Basketball made a donation of $9,000. So our funding to date was $87,000. We did replace the fence here. That's one of the things that, as you'll see in the last slide, that we replaced the fence at Milken Field. That was a CPC project, both sides, and now we replaced here. The fence here was over 60 years old, running along Sawyer Street, so it was actually quite dangerous. So as you see, anybody's driven by here, we have a beautiful blacktop. The light poles are up, the lights are up. The rec department did buy LED lights for here too, as I mentioned. So so far what has been spent, close to $49,000 by IREA for the blacktop surface. The poles, here, the one thing that we weren't expecting, National Grid actually made a promise to us for poles, and then they backed out. So the rec department had to buy the poles that were here.
Why did that happen? Do you understand what happened if they said that they were going to do it? And then
liability. I guess with the coating they put on the poles, it was an issue where what's on the poles on the ground isn't healthy, even though we've had ones here for 50 years. So I think that was the issue. It was a liability issue. They didn't want to donate poles, so we had to buy our own poles and have them installed directly. The electrical is all ready to go out there for about $11,000. The only thing that we're still working on now is the backboards, and we went out to bid, and that's a low bidder right now. So
how many backboards?
4. So
4.
So what you'll see.
How many are up at Beechwood?
Just one court there.
So there are 2 there.
Yep.
And those were at 6,000.
Yes.
Now there are 4 for 14.5.
Yeah, it's a cement. We're also working, there's a different angle where we went for 6-foot poles because because of the brand new blacktop. If we went with the 4-foot poles, we'd be under budget.
No, I'm talking about the backboards.
Yes, so they don't want us to drill into the brand new asphalt. We would put 4-foot poles up there, but because it's all brand new asphalt, they've asked us to go with 6-foot poles. So we wouldn't disturb the brand new asphalt. So that was the increase there, going with the 6-foot extensions.
No, I'm not talking about black top. I'm talking about the backboards.
Yeah, I think the
There are four-
confusion, Ted, is the poles. You have poles listed, and what those are is electrical. The
Yes, I'm sorry.
backboards, when you're
The
talking about
backboard.
backboard, you're talking about the post that the backboard goes on.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's the difference.
Not the backboard itself.
It's the whole, it's everything, because right now you see there's nothing out there. It's the.
Okay, but you're getting 4 for 14.5.
Yeah.
Why would you spend 6 to get 2?
That's an estimate. Don't forget that. I mean, that is an estimate. We haven't got the final.
No, I understand that, but that's a wide discrepancy. I mean, you know,
That price will be cheaper. I mean, that is about, so that's what, 14. That's about $3,600 a backboard. So I mean, the 6,000 we have for Beechwood will probably go up if we do the same model. Like that $6,000 estimate we got for Beechwood was from a year ago. This is a brand new estimate for the 4 backboards here.
right now, but the Beechwood was the backboard and the poles.
Everything. And
Okay.
everything here too.
Okay, but.
But what she's explaining is that this, where it says poles, is talking about the electrical for the lighting. It's not the pole that the backboard goes on.
So we're getting 4, the estimate we have for 4 backboards, the poles, the concrete footing, rims, is $14,500 for 4 of them.
Right. And in Beechwood, you're getting backboards and poles at $3,000 a pop.
But that's an old estimate. And we haven't asked, we're actually gonna ask, I mean, that was an estimate from a year ago. So we need to go back to Beechwood and look at that when we finally, if we start looking at that project.
What are you basing your estimates on these backboards on?
We've got 3 estimates.
And backboard prices have dropped that much in
They've gone up.
a couple of years?
No, they've gone up. So we're looking at, I mean, one estimate was 16,000
For 4,
for 4.
right. Which is what?
$4,000 a piece.
$4,000 a piece.
Yeah, so we're just, I mean, we're estimating, well, you actually, I know what it was. We had an original estimate of $12,000 and we divided Beechwood. We only needed 2 of Beechwood, so we said 6. But that is a rough estimate. We've actually haven't asked for an estimate for Beechwood yet.
Okay, I don't know, maybe it's the new math, but rather than continuing on it,
Yep.
I'd like to see some real current estimates, a couple of them.
This is current. I mean, Sawyer Street's current. Beechwood, like I said, it's our last project we have, working on.
So you're only short $600 on this one.
This one. But there's more. If show goes to the next page. Yeah, we made some money. We did a virtual road race for Thanksgiving. So here's the design, by the way, just so you guys know. The bottom right on your picture is the playground. So that's the new design for here. 2 courts side by side. So the bottom half of it is the train track, and you can see the parking lot.
Right.
That's a design we're going with. So the only thing we're missing here is that because some costs came in overhead, because we lost the basketball season, we have, the only thing we have in account is $12,000 to paint the court, put a resurface down, and then replace some trees that got removed along the old court.
Are those trees gonna be near the courts?
I want to put them up by
Don't put them near the court where the roots are gonna start breaking up the.
No, my goal is to put them up high along where the parking lot is. And to have a natural barrier for the parking lot to the grass field.
So by high, you mean up and to the left of the uppermost of these 2 courts?
Yeah, if you see the parking lot lines, the stripes for those, I mean, just going along. I mean, that's my recommendation. Well, not there, Michelle. That's a hill. We would just go up higher towards the street. from that spot over towards the street.
So the trees would be up where the cursor is now.
So it'd be sort of a buffer to, it'd be before before the leaching field. And it'll also protect cars from, driving onto the field, which does.
Wouldn't you rather just have like a hedge that's not going to be the
Yep.
same kind of root structure and that would just provide you that visual buffer between the parking lot and the courts?
We do need to replace the trees.
Right.
It
But
is-
what I think we're getting at is we need to replace beechwood now because of trees. Are we funding a future problem by putting trees in there?
Yeah, I mean, if you put a hedge, it's not going to have the root structure that trees are going to have.
I think you have Peter coming on, or Peter's probably in the room waiting, right, Michelle?
He is.
Peter's the one that did bring up the point that we need to replace. We have to replace 4 trees that were taken down.
Well, why do you have to?
Because of, Michelle, what's the wording for it?
I mean, do you need shade or is that what you're trying to create?
Yeah, that's shade trees. We need to replace the shade trees that were removed.
What is it you're trying to shade?
Just replace the shade trees that were removed.
But are you
have to
trying to shade the
replace-
court?
No.
So Ted, do they have to be replaced in the same location or can we relocate them to another location?
Oh, that's why I mean, the court, they used to be just inside where that far top court is. So we are relocating. They're not going to be anywhere near the basketball court.
No, I don't mean on Sawyer Street. Can you relocate the trees elsewhere, not near the Sawyer Street project?
Good question. That's sort of a tree shade question. I can ask, I know who the person for that would be. If it's Andy.
So are you saying that there's like a town bylaw that if you take out one shade tree somewhere, you have to replace it with another shade tree somewhere or either there or elsewhere?
I don't know if there's a bylaw yet. I know Brian's working on it, I think, right, Michelle?
There's been discussions of it. Peter would be the best person to speak to this.
Okay, no, I'm
Well,
just trying to
Eric-
understand what the reasoning behind this particular site is.
Yeah, we would love, I mean, for a recreation perspective, to have shade out there for the kids is great. I mean, especially when we're in our summer program, having, 100 preschoolers out there, it'd be nice to have. The trees that were removed weren't at that level yet, and they were far enough away from the court they weren't going to cause damage, and they were a different tree. I know Andy from DPW told me he met with, I think it was Ralph Dormitzer, and they picked out the trees that were here, and they planted them when the court was resurfaced. There is a leaching field, and that's what, if you see that purple line that runs along the bottom of the courts and it stretches out towards Sawyer Street, there's a leaching field in that general area going towards the parking lot, but there is a section there. And it's a hot spot during the summer between all this blacktop and the red brick building. It's a very hot spot. I would love to see more green grass in the bottom half of there. I mean, there is green grass. I'd like to have more of a field for kids to play on. So that's why I'm suggesting the trees go towards the parking lot, but it won't be my decision. It'll just be whatever the tree shade area people talk about. So, but basically, between our request here is, like I said, if we had this year's basketball program, this year's road race, there wouldn't be a need for this request. And then we've actually set aside, in our next basketball season, we'll replace, we're putting portable scoreboards, paddings and benches here with the recreation basketball account. So this is our smallest request. But there's, the tree shade, is an issue. Just trying to, and like I said, Peter could probably address that if you want to ask him about it when he comes up next.
Okay, Susie? Susie, do you have any
Oh, I'm
questions?
sorry, I didn't hear you, Russ. As I look at these, I wonder why contingency fees are estimated at 25%.
That's what I was asked to do.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I was asked to do that.
Okay, it seems a bit excessive. The second thing has to do with the fact that you didn't get the funding you anticipated because of the road race being canceled. Now, next year, you're going, with any luck, you'll have it. And where would any of those proceeds?
So the road race that we do every Thanksgiving it's a partnership with us and the Clark Chadden Fund. So anything, we usually make about, in a good year, we'll make about $10,000, any $10 to $15,000. Half of it goes to the Clark Chadden Fund, who actually, they support athletic facilities.
Sure.
You don't, like you see the scoreboard at Alumni Field is, I think, partly theirs. And so they actually support a lot of projects. And then we, half the proceeds we have here builds up. And that's why you see, you know, I think between these two projects, Milliken and Sawyer Street, the rec department's got over $55,000 set it from previous road races, from field funds, and the Thanksgiving Day race and the basketball program. So this project, like I said, if COVID didn't happen, we could probably get this done right away. We could have got done before, you know, the winter, but COVID happened and we were a little bit short. So.
Okay, now my question has to do with next year's race. Where would you anticipate the funds going from that?
The
plans for those?
fund
Yeah,
pay for this. Is that what you're thinking?
it would sit in, I mean, it would sit in, I mean, it'd only probably be, you know, based on the fact that we split the money proceeds, it'd be about 5 to 7.
Yeah.
It builds, like we try to let it build up a little bit and then put it towards these projects. So, and like I said, once this project gets done, we'll look at it like Beechwood, where every 10 years, you know, we'll need to pay. We won't come back to you guys. We'll pay the basketball program that uses this court. We'll pay for the resurface every 10 years whenever it's needed.
Right, so you'll build up a fund in anticipation of those needs. Okay.
And like I said, we will look at,
Thank you.
COVID did mess up the plan. You know, we weren't in a rush to get this project done because we see how busy Beechwood is. And basketball is a high risk sport. So we're trying, you know, if we had that court ready here, we'd probably have 100 kids playing basketball every afternoon, which we don't want yet until COVID's over. And like we were delayed with COVID with the polls, waiting for those. I know there's always been questions on Facebook of what's happening here. So you guys are sort of the first ones to know the latest update of where we stand. So we were going to try to paint lines this year before the winter, but it would have been then you wash them out and put the resurface down, but it just didn't work out. So
that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Tom?
Nope, good.
You're good. All right, Eric. I think Eric has dropped off.
I did have one last slide, and it was just for my rec board asked me to look into it. It's sort of a, you know, I know we've asked a lot from you guys. So, you know, and as Russ knows, I was on CPC. I think Susan was on it too when I was on originally in the early 2010, 11, 12 period. I remember at the Sailing Club facility. So my rec board asked me to look into how much we've asked for over the years. So, and some of them have been maintenance. I mean, I know, you know, the fence at Milliken Field, you guys help pay for on both ends. The one on Bancroft Road and the one on Bancroft Way. That fence was I think we looked at over 60 years old. Had the dangerous tops to it with the sharp edges. And then, you know, like I mentioned, the tennis court repair. So, you know, we've tried to use our own money for many of these projects. And unfortunately, Milliken has just been a monster we haven't beat yet. But this project here at Sawyer Street, if it wasn't for COVID, we probably could have funded the whole thing.
This chart, I mean, just because one group got X number of dollars doesn't mean everybody has to be on the same level.
Oh, I agree. I agree. No,
That's like, you know, kids have to get a certain number of Christmas presents each, or there's arguments.
Yeah.
But this also ignores the fact, like, okay, in the case of the Sailing Club, you're right, they did get 260,000. In the case of the swim center, they did get 400,000. And in the youth baseball, 45,000. But this ignores the fact that in the case of the Sailing Club, they came up with 260,000. We only financed half of it. The youth baseball was similar. They came up with, I think that was a 50-50, as is the swim center. So to me, this is comparing apples and oranges.
No, I mean,
I'd like to see something, I think it would be, in order for it to be more realistic, or as a point of comparison, if it also showed what the contribution on those people's part were.
I agree. I mean, like I said, I was part of the Sailing Club equation too. So, and we tried to, like, you know, the only project that's sort of new is Beechwood. But, you know, Milliken, we, you know, with the original estimates we had of $250,000, we had asked for you for 150, and we were close. We're close. I mean, we're $100,000, you know, from private, including our money, recreation money that was collected. We tried to get to that closer to 50% too, until the prices came in. And Sawyer Street here, as you look at the numbers, I mean, you know, to try to get that project done. And don't forget, I mean, a lot of this is contingency. A lot of these fees are, I think our contingency budget is high. So if everything goes well, we won't need all the requests we have. We might not need the all the contingency money too. So
yeah, well, we don't put out money until we get bills. So
Right.
you know, no, I'm sorry. This doesn't impress me at all.
no, I think, you know, my rec board just want to know how we, you know, if we've asked a lot from you guys, and you know what. I do like the Deer Hill basketball court though. Sort of, it actually, the Deer Hill basketball court reminds us of our Beechwood court. So I know, I don't think I was on the CPC when that came about. So it's a nice, you know, for what my prices are 70,000 for the same type of court. So it's good to see that between COVID and the economy, we're still below the cost of what was spent on the Deer Hill court. So.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Tom?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, Eric? He's been muted. That's why we couldn't hear him.
I got bounced off the web for 45 minutes. I just came back. That's the reason you didn't hear me. But I'm raring to go. I'm raring to go now.
All right. Do you have any questions on this, or did you hear anything?
Nope, that's fine.
Okay. You know, my initial impression is there needs to be an awful lot of detail filled in both this and the previous one.
Like I said, you guys are the first ones to see it. We had hoped to have a meeting with the finance team first, and then also capital beforehand.
Right, but I, you know, in fairness to you too, we'd like to bring these things out now so you can.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, okay. So no other questions? We can go to the next proposal.
Fine.
Thank you, Ted.
Carrie, you all set?
Good.
Okay. All right, Peter? Oh, there he is. Peter is muted, it looks. There he is.
There I am.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
we can.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm here. Thank you for making some time for me. I am chair of the Open Space and Recreation Committee, so most of what the Cohasset land trust people were talking about interests me as well, interests my committee as well. Similarly, what Ted was talking about crosses over into what we do, or we cross over into what they do. Our goals are really aligned with both of those groups to bring, protect the environment and bring recreational opportunities to the citizens of Cohasset. And so that's what brings me here tonight is the committee, as you probably know, we finished up our 7-year plan that was finally approved by the state after a contingency approval back in June, I think it was. And we're 2 years into the 7-year plan. And one of the goals in the plan is to improve recreational opportunities and access for residents of the town. So recently, back in October, there was a few things going on. One was Wadley Park had, if everybody knows where Wadley Park is, it's at the intersection of Jerusalem Road and Forest Ave. It's that little triangle. Used to have a net up for badminton and things like that. And there was a proposal to put a monument on Wadley Park. And if you can envision it, I don't have any graphics for you today because we're really in the early stages of what we're trying to accomplish. Wadley Park has less than an acre that encompasses the park. Beside the park, there's a roadway. You'll recall that as Forest Ave comes down, the road continues into Hull. And then behind this little triangle is another road with several parking spaces. That really doesn't do anything traffic-wise, but it just provides parking. And recently, in the fall, we found out that the adjacent land on the corner of Jerusalem and to the east, the northeast corner of Forest Ave is town-owned, and it's an empty lot. My initial information is that apparently the Beech used to go, there was an opening to that land, that water mass, and there actually was a beach there at one time. And that property is the remaining town-owned portion of the beach, to my understanding. But it abuts the little road that goes between the property and Wadley Park. And so we have the idea that wouldn't it be nice for the town, for the children in the town, and for the adults to close that road, use the corner lot and the area of Wadley Park, and those three things are all contingent, and it gives you a fairly large area that we could make a park there. And we could make a park with a kiddie park like there is out on Beechwood or at behind the library, because there's no facilities at all on the west end of town. There's no kids recreational facilities other than Black Beach, and the parking is limited. And that's a rocky beach, and whatever. It has only a certain amount of attraction for kids. So that is the primary project that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Again, we're in the very, very early stages. Chapter 91, which deals with coastline. Since it was a prior beach, we have to figure out what the provenance of the property is. Can we, we'll have pushback from the neighbors, but all in all, we could create a small children's park, similar to what's available in other parts of town, and a grassy area, and just have one contiguous small park with parking, I'm sure we can figure out how to put the parking inside the boundary of the combined properties. So that's the big plan that I wanted to at least propose. It's in the very early stages. You know, I don't know what the $78,000 for the Deer Hill Playground bought, whether that was just the redoing of the ground area for the kids, or whether it was the creation of the entire park. I don't know the details there, but I assume it'll be much more than $70,000 to take that property, you know, combine the road, the Wadley Park and the town-owned land, you know, create parking, create a little park and have a grassy area, you know, that's contingent right to the Black Rock Beach. That is the general proposal. The committee has voted on this, by the way, because it is one of our action items is to follow up on opportunities to create more available recreational opportunities for all ages in Cohasset. So I'm available for any questions that you may have, but that's the general proposal.
Susan?
Do you have any idea how much parking that you'd be able to put in there? Because
There's, I think, 6 spots currently.
it's sorely lacking for parking now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I can't imagine by adding a park, which is going to draw additional people,
Yeah.
that there can be adequate parking. And I mean,
Well,
I can't have
well-
people park on Jerusalem and,
Well, you can't really park on Jerusalem.
well, that's what I'm saying. So you can't park on Jerusalem. I can't see with that steep hill coming down that you could park on Forest. So where would cars park?
Well, I don't know the exact dimensions of the lot or the road for that.
Very small.
I don't know. It's a corner lot. It goes in about 100, 100 feet or more. I don't know the exact dimensions.
You're talking about the little triangle between where you go
a
over
little
towards.
triangle. the
Yeah, I know.
street,
We've been there numerous times.
and then going to the east, going to the west is the corner lot, which looks to be, maybe a half an acre, thereabouts, something like that. So I think you could have, I looked at Beechwood, and Beechwood has got about a dozen parking places, in front of the kiddie area, in front of the basketball court. There's about a dozen, maybe 10 or 12 parking spots. Right now, there's, I think, 6 on that little road. I'm sure on both sides of the park, we could organize parking that would improve the parking situation at Black Rock Beach and allow people to come. Now, people will be able to walk down to the park as well from Forest Ave and Jerusalem Road to some degree. I mean, there's no sidewalks on Jerusalem, but that's another thing we could look at is sidewalks on that area of Jerusalem, which is also an action item.
Peter, have you discussed any wetland implications of what you want to do here with Mary Ann, who's on your committee?
I have not. She's
She's
aware
to
of
give you
it.
the outlook from
She's the-
conservation.
She's the liaison to your committee, so.
So she's the liaison to your committee.
Exactly, so.
Yeah.
She will, I don't know if there are any implications for wetlands on the backside of that lot. There's a house to continuing west, and there's one to the east.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it touches onto the water, how the water would be involved. But, again, we're very early on. This is just a concept right now. I don't have approval from anybody to do anything yet. So, but it's the committee has taken this on as a project, and obviously we want to involve the Recreation Commission as well. They should be the sponsor on this, although we'll be the driver to get this thing done.
So your proposal is to eliminate the woodlands, which is to the west of where the parking area is now, to take that out.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we may have to do mitigation and plant trees in some other places to keep the stock of trees, carbon absorbing trees up to par. We don't want to lose any trees in Cohasset, especially there is an ordinance that is, I don't know, it was supposed to be passed by the select board already. For some reason, I can't quite get it to the select board. Brian has not finished the last part of it for some reason. But yes, there is a tree management policy that does prohibit removal of trees without replacement on town property. And
There's
so
been a lot of-
I am the instigator of replacing those
Okay.
trees at the basketball court,
Yeah.
and I will continue to be.
Yeah, one of the big issues here, because we've been involved in there quite a bit, there's a significant amount of runaway Japanese knotweed in that area. All right. And because of that, there's significant legal and enforcement issues going on in the neighborhood area. And
Okay.
that's something that will be.
Yeah, well, that's all
important.
yeah, that's all going to be in our discovery as we get deeper into this. Again, this is at the concept stage right now. We haven't really figured out the town will allow us to close that road, will allow us to use that lot. You know, I mean, a lot of hurdles to get by, let alone the residential pushback on having any public thing like that in that particular area.
We tried to put in 3 benches that the Boy Scouts wanted to put in along Straits Pond, further along.
Right.
And you should have seen the uproar from the people that live there. You thought we were trying to build a hotel there when we were going to put in 3 park benches.
I'm aware. I've been around town a bit, and I understand the politics involved. But you know, it's really a worthwhile thing. You know, people don't have any recreational outlet on that part of town, and I think this would be a great thing to do for the town, and it totally in keeping with the action items and the goals of the Open Space and Rec Committee. So the committee was 100%, was unanimous in its approval to go forward with the project. So here we are. And of course, we'll be looking at CPC. We'll be looking at the town to provide the land, and you know, maybe we'll have to do fundraising. You know, I don't know what it'll end up looking like. You know, conservation issues will come up, and you know, and the butter issues will come up. So,
all right,
just have to work through it.
I'd like to see a diagram of.
Well, we don't have any. I'm not an architect, and you know, we'd get a recreational firm. You know, somebody who does recreational installations, and once we get to that point where we understand what we have to do with the land, and you know, if we can take the street and any issues with the law, and you know, section 91, and the conservation issues, and you know, all of those things have to be worked through. It won't be happening anytime soon. You know, it won't be a this year. It won't be a 2021 project. You know, that we'll be deep. You know, we'll be deep up. We'll be up to our necks in it all through 21. So I look like, you know, probably 22, 23 if we can pull this off. But I think it would be a great improvement to, you know, great thing for the younger kids, the moms, you know, on that side of town who have to travel to, you know, go to an entertaining place where they can have some entertainment for their children.
Good visionary project.
It's a big one, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the easy one. The second project, which also was unanimously approved by my committee back in October, is creation of a skate park someplace in Cohasset. I kept noticing that kids had built some ramps and had installed them beside the what I call the duck pond down on Elm, right beside Elms Meadow on Spring Street. And the road that was closed off when the train came through, there's a roadway that just stops at the train tracks. It used to go all the way through. And so the kids have commandeered that little closed road, and they use that for jumping. You know, they've built their own obstacles, and they're in there with the BMX bikes and skateboards and all the rest of that. And I keep seeing them in there, and I say, you know, geez, there's no place for them to do this. So I started to talk to. I did connect with Mara Glancy, who's the recreation director in Situate. They've had a skate park for many years. She told me that it was originally created about 10 years ago for $239,000. And it is the single most popular recreational place for teens in town. It's always full. Even in the winter, they come in and they shovel it out and skateboard and inline skate in the area. And they don't have any, from her conversation with me, the public safety issues aren't any different than any other park. There's no increase in unlawful activity or obnoxious activity or whatever you want to call it. The kids are, you know, perfectly happy to have their place. And it ties into Safe Harbor. If you're all familiar with Safe Harbor's goal to reduce substance abuse among the teens of Cohasset, and I was on the board recently, have stepped down, but I was there for 5 years. And the kids in Cohasset don't have enough recreational outlets to give them something to do. And a lot of that ends up being substance abuse of various kinds, vaping, alcohol abuse, and drug abuse. And this is one of the key items in the fight against all kinds of substance abuse, is to provide recreational outlets for the teens. And this is a great one. It's also the toughest thing in the world to get a town to do, because everyone has their own vision of what this is going to be. It's going to be a wild and crazy place with people I don't really like how they look and what they're doing, and not my son, you know, they're not going to go there, but it's everybody's son and daughter who's going to be over there, because it's very hot in the town right now. And like I said, the kids have already commandeered this street to this closed off street, you know, that nobody uses it for anything, to create their own mini skate park. So the biggest problem here is we need to find a place to put this place, and we need to find funding, and we need to get approval, and we need to socialize the idea with the community, you know, and hold hearings and have kids on the board, on the planning committee, and find an architect to do it, and all that kind of stuff. It looks like, I also talked to Hingham, and they report the same thing. The director there, Mark Thorell, had a long conversation with him, and they actually run programs, skateboard classes. They run inline skate classes. They think it's a gem in their town. And again, they report that it's the most popular teen recreational outlet that they have in the town. Now,
my concern, and what I think we need to hear, is what is the liability?
liability.
I was going to ask that question too.
Yeah, there's one in Plymouth near a building that I'm involved in that is, it's used a lot. When I see it, I'm astounded that there aren't many times where I've seen somebody going out of there holding their head or their arm or something.
Both towns reported to me that the liability is covered under their blanket liability, under the town's blanket liability.
Right, that may be the case, but
how much is that tapped?
Yeah, you know, I mean, if kids are getting hurt,
but again,
it's covered through an insurance policy.
Yeah, your rates go up. I understand.
Yeah, well, but I mean, in the end, kids are still getting hurt, and we're almost bringing in an attractive nuisance.
Well, that's the hurdle that I have to overcome. That's the socialization that's required.
Yeah.
It's also the most used recreational outlet for teens in both of those towns.
Oh, again, I'm sure.
Don't lose
But
sight of
that's, yeah, I'm just saying what my concern is.
Yeah. And
Susan?
I'm trying to assuage your concern.
The
Well,
area that's being utilized now, are you talking about that little road that's off Cushing?
Yeah, right by the duck pond.
Right by the little pond there that was
Yeah, it was closed off. The railroad closed it off, and
it seems like if that's a good location, why not just put it there?
not a good location.
Why is it not?
Well, you got the pond right there, and you have no visibility. It's treed on one side. It's deep in. One of the things you want to have, you do want to have it in a visible place where the normal traffic of the town can see what's going on.
I always thought
Well,
a
it seems-
location would be right behind the proposed basketball courts behind the library.
That's my prime spot personally, but I think just listening to what Ted was saying, he uses that for hundreds of little tykes to play on, and
No one ever
there
down.
may be a leaching field there, and that'll be my proposal. But Ted isn't going to give that space up.
But on the other hand, the area where
But that would be the perfect space, right
the
there.
area where they go now, though, is not far from the high school, middle school, which is the group of kids who are going to be utilizing this. It's just down Pond Street. So from that standpoint, it seems like it's an easy access place for them to get to. They get out of school and they head right down there.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it needs to be accessible so the kids can get there by themselves, can walk down, ride down.
Which is what that location is.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that street, just converting that street to a skate park, but I think both of the rec directors, the Situate and Hingham, both said, that you want it to be visible. You want it to have some visibility, because that in and of itself will, keep any shenanigans down.
But we're
Although
still,
they say that there's no more public safety issues than anything else.
It sounds to me like we're a long way from having a proposal on either of these things. So I think they're interesting ideas, but
we're just doing our own discovery. We're researching, we're trying to figure out if it's possible, and et cetera. But I just wanted to start making people aware that this is actually going on. Matter of fact, at the last coalition, the Safe Harbor Coalition meeting, I couldn't be there, but I had Nicole Belushi report to the coalition that these two efforts are underway, because it supports everything that they're doing. That this is one of the goals of the Safe Harbor Coalition, is to create more recreational opportunities. Matter of fact, one of the town's 5 goals for 2021, 2022 is to create a teen recreation center. That's how important this is.
I think where we're so far away from this really coming to any kind of fruition, and we're very close to 9 o'clock.
Well, I can talk all night, but
no, you can't. And I appreciate it, but we, there may be something that we can do there. I do know other towns have done it. But there are.
I just wanted to broach the projects with your group, so that you're aware, and I'll periodically come back and as things come up or as they go away. We may not be successful on either of them. I hope we are, but
no, we'll be glad to work with you as best we can. But
I'm just looking for just some general support, and when we get to a place where we'll need some design money, maybe we'll get that from the town, and come back with a plan that's an architect puts together. But we got all these hurdles about getting the land and all the rest of the things that go along with that. So it's a large. It'll take a long time. It's not gonna be a quick.
No. No. But in the interest of time for tonight,
Yes, it does.
I'd like to wrap it up.
Yeah, well, thank you all for your time and.
Okay, thank you,
Any
Peter.
questions, I'm always around I'm happy to come back and answer any questions.
Okay,
Thank you, Peter.
thanks. Okay, the only other thing we had that I'm aware of, unless Michelle has anything coming up, is the letter from Taffy about the
Good
housing.
night, all.
Good night, Peter. Thank you.
All right, Peter.
Do you want to discuss this tonight, or you want to read it over and we can have another meeting and do it? Like I say, it's close to 9. I don't know how your day has been. My day was fun-filled.
Why don't you send it to us all and then we can read through it, and we're going to be meeting again in January anyway, and there's
Yeah.
not going to be a town meeting till May, so we're not going to
Okay.
be voting on any of this.
And this isn't going to hold them up in any way.
No.
So,
I second Susan's suggestion.
and all in favor?
Aye.
Actually, we have to do it as, you have to do it as a roll call.
Susan,
So,
aye.
Carrie, you know, you have to state your name and how you're voting.
Carrie, yes.
Tom Reardon, aye.
Eric
Susie?
Eisenhower, aye.
Susie,
Aye.
your name, please. When you do a roll call, you have to state your name and your vote.
Susie Wadsworth, aye.
Okay, Russ Benetti, aye. With that, if there's nothing else. do
I
you
make a
set
motion, we adjourn.
Okay, do
I
you want to
second.
set it, you want to set a date for January or not? We'll wait.
Sure.
We can wait. And hopefully by then we can do it in person.
Great.
Okay, so a motion to adjourn is on the table. Anyone
I'll second.
second? Okay, I hope nobody's voting no. Appreciate your time tonight.